For the longest time, I wouldn't write, meaning I could write, but I wouldn't. I inhibited myself from writing because I felt like I couldn't make sense of anything. I used to do such so freely in a large, green, 5-star 4-subject notebook. There's something about a pen on paper which smoothens out the jumbled catastrophe of a mind. Practice of journaling aligned me with the fullness of life rather than the yearning for things to happen. I started journaling at 8 years old when my step-grandfather gave me an embroidered jewel sketchbook about the size of my 2 palms. That summer, I had met the most fantastic sister trio, all the way from Texas. They were staying at their aunt's for the summer, and we developed a very close bond. Unfortunately, though, as summer came to an end, they returned home. It was August, and I desired to remember everything. So I doodled characters and spent most of my time recollecting the exquisite experience of our friendship. But as time went on and as I doodled away, the memories faded onto the pages, numbered by this quick summer. I soon had to fictionalize things that happened so that I wouldn't lose sense of them. There are many ways of perceiving time. Looking back, the months passed pretty quickly, although they felt so long back then. I found myself in another summer with new memories to cling on to and new interests to pursue. Writing in my journal had evolved into a mechanism beyond capturing mere reflections of happenings. Journaling evolved into a way to confront life more passionately, with a heightened sense of emotional acuity. Moving my pen accompanied the progression of perception and how it altered with the unfolding of new information. A simple outlet developed into a friend which I could turn to when there was no one else. Although I had written no serious works with depth, journaling cultivated my feeling heart, and I started to generate a better understanding of people, their pain, and the mental landscape that attempts to obtain and pursue or find things of alleviation of suffering. I reflected deeper on the characters I read in books and short stories from school and in my leisure time. Things outside me soon became deeply personal. In Jared Henderson's YouTube video on journaling, he mentions that as we are living through experiences, we are constantly constructing and reconstructing a narrative about ourselves. And that's why I think journaling is so important. I agree with him on the point that it's better to take all the feelings and emotions that are populating in one location and to make them tangible so that we could either work through the problems that we are perceiving or find problems that we are missing. Journaling is the practice of not being ignorant, being mindful on multiple levels of how we see the world. It takes us out of a self-centered mentality, and it allows us to not only empathize with ourselves and show ourselves compassion, but to truly dig deep and give compassion to others by understanding in better depth what they're going through. Journaling doesn't have to be fussy. It doesn't have to be consistent, although a lot of people talk about the benefits of doing practices that are helpful consistently. You can use a small notebook like this. You can use electronic devices like my iPad and the Apple Pencil that I use. I prefer this way nowadays because I have access to it all the time. You can use Google Docs. You can use any way you want, but the act of physically typing or writing adds depth and structure to sometimes scattered, fickle thoughts that run through our minds. One of the main reasons that I journal is because I'm quite neurotic, not gonna lie, and my neurotic tendencies is just something that is within my personality. Writing certainly adds more layers to the often neurotic emotions that arise, these dimensions that would not be there if I hadn't written down the experience or the feeling. There are different methods of journaling. Logging things that have occurred and your reflection of them, or maybe not even the reflection of them, but just the basic layer of how you saw and perceived what had happened.
Why does the sky matter concerning mood? The gray sky is dull, cloudy, and stubbornly mimicking a boring ocean, washed out, full of secrets that are probably not that interesting.
There are many reasons why this can be beneficial and helpful for someone like me who's neurotic, and even someone who's more level-headed. One of them is it builds a sense of respect for yourself, especially if you have done something, accomplished something difficult. In this particular entry that I had written when I was training, I talked about how all my hard work had paid up for this last and final event that was extremely challenging. Even though there were some challenges, obstacles that I went through, I talk about how I thought about things bigger than myself and how that pushed me, and how it helped me to push others who were struggling as well. And writing this entry, and I look back at it, makes me feel a sense of respect and reinstills a belief in myself when I go through another challenging thing that could occur or is happening at the moment. Another way of journaling that I really enjoy as someone who aspires to be a creative, I like to journal by fictionalizing fragments of experiences I had. Fictionalizing can be very pragmatic, such as I'm imagining that I do this thing that's not particularly easy, this challenge, and then it gives me some credibility, and I tell a potential employer that I did this and I showed them at work, and then they see and then they hire me. And then this is how my life evolves from that. You can play those what ifs in this fictionalization of journaling. Another aspect of fictionalizing in your journals can be to develop compassion by putting yourself in a completely different character's shoes, even though it's your perspective and your imagination from things you've seen or heard. I imagine myself in a much more beautiful neighborhood on the Pacific coast, with an embossed ceramic cappuccino mug, as I read and listen to the birds chirping outside my botanical paradise. I feel the same as I do now, in my actually ghetto, mercilessly noisy city apartment, with no birds chirping, just the rumbling cacophony and clamor of weekday traffic, drills puncturing dusty, cracked roads, the ambulance screaming its head off. With a book in hand, halfway read, I'm sipping on my Mr. Coffee brewed cup of joe.
I'm going to show you how to make the best cup of coffee you ever tasted in just seconds with Mr. Coffee Automatic Drip Coffee Maker.
With all the jubilant feelings that are more fickle than the indecisive, restless artist. Another avenue or path you can use in your journaling that can be very pragmatic is encountering things that you're afraid of or problems that you just can't seem to put your finger on. These types of journal entries, you present a problem. When I journaled this, I soon found out that I wasn't disappointed in my lack of productivity and my procrastination. I found that I was more curious about my general nature, and the perception of the two options and their lack of depth. When you journal, you begin to consider things in much greater proportion and detail than flurries of scattered thoughts and assumptions. Journaling is empowering.